And I called it yoga meditation because yoga actually is meditation. That's not popular in America. It's not popular in the world today. But the notion that yoga is about postures and is a physical fitness thing is fairly new in the last 100 years. That's not what yoga was before that. And what we have now is two concurrent paths operating under the name yoga. One is about physical fitness, and it has been morphing or evolving, for better or worse, for about 100 years, changing. And there's more and more people inventing new names and new styles of yoga. I'm attempting to say that in an unbiased way. It's just a fact. It's happening. It's part of our world of yoga. Parallel to that, at the same time, is the other yoga, the same yoga that has been around for thousands of years. I call it sometimes the old-fashioned yoga. Old-fashioned yoga has been around for thousands of years. But in the last 100 years, the two have been running parallel. One has been very visible out in the world. It's turned into thousands and thousands of yoga studios. Meanwhile, the yogis in places like the Himalayas have been sitting and sitting and sitting. And the two don't run into each other very often. So there's another yoga. But in this modern world of yoga, if you say yoga, nobody knows what you're talking about. So I'm explaining why I use the term yoga meditation. Like the Robert Frost poem of two roads diverging in a wood, yoga has diverged, gone two different directions in the past 100 years or so. The word yoga has become a homonym, a word which, although spelled the same, has two different meanings, such as left for leave or left compared to right. Greatly influenced by gymnastics of the early 20th century, yoga has become predominantly known as a physical culture, whereas it has historically been known as meditative culture. Our focus here in this course is on yoga in its traditional meaning, wherein yoga has to do with meditation leading to enlightenment or self-realization. Yoga is in every religion. But yoga is not a religion. Speaking of yoga as meditation, which is that's what it is, predominantly. The principles are all around us. There's no such thing, in fact, as trademarked yoga. Yoga is not a thing that is aside from everything else. There is no Hindu yoga. There is no Buddhist yoga. There's no Christian yoga. People come up with these discernments because that's what they're doing. And of course, see it that way. The principles are universal. And the process is systematic. What does it mean to say that it's systematic? I don't care who the teacher is, I don't care who the lineage is, whether it's a modern lineage or a so-called style of yoga, as is taught in studios, etc. It's a systematic process. Simply means you go from outermost to outer, to a little bit inward, to more inward, and finally to the centermost inward, whether you give it a name or not. If you call it a soul, if you call it God, if you call it divine, if you call it Atman or Brahman or capital S self, doesn't matter what you call it, but the process is systematic. Starts with the body. Then there's the breath. Then there's the conscious mind, the levels of unconscious mind, and finally something beyond that.